The First National Bank of Cedar Springs, Montana, was not the kind of place you'd expect drama. It was small. One of those community banks where everyone knew everyone. 3 tellers, 1 manager. A vault that had been installed in 1972 and never updated. On a typical Monday morning, there'd be maybe a dozen customers, farmers depositing checks, retirees withdrawing cash, local business owners making deposits. It was 10:47 a.m. when everything changed. The door opened. A man walked in, tall, maybe 6 feet, wearing a black hoodie with the hood up, sunglasses, a bandana covering the lower half of his face, and in his right hand, a semi-automatic pistol. He fired 1 shot into the ceiling. The sound was deafening. Plaster and dust ran down. People screamed, dropped to the floor, covered their heads. Everybody down, now. His voice was young, strained, desperate, hands where I can see them. The 3 tellers dropped behind the counter. The manager, a woman named Susan Hartley, raised her hand slowly. Please, don't hurt anyone. Shut up, empty the drawers, all of them, put the money in a bag. Susan nodded, moved to the first teller station, started pulling out cash. Her hands were shaking. There were 8 customers in the bank. Most of them were on the floor, face down, terrified. But one man, sitting in a chair near the window, stood slowly, carefully. He was old, maybe mid-70s. White hair, thin frame. He wore jeans, work boots, and a short-sleeved plaid shirt. His hands went up, palms forward, non-threatening. The robber swung the gun toward him. I say down. The old man spoke calmly. Steady. I'm down, just moving slow, bad knees. Faster. The old man lowered himself to one knee, then the other. As he did, his arm stayed raised, and that's when it happened. The overhead fluorescent lights caught his left forearm. And there, tattooed in bold black ink, was an image that made the robber freeze. An eagle, a globe, an anchor, the unmistakable emblem of the United States Marine Corps, and beneath it, in Gothic lettering, SEMPER FIDELIS. The robber's gun hand dropped slightly. His eyes locked on the tattoo. His breathing, which had been fast and panicked, hitched. You're a Marine? The old man looked up, met the robber's eyes through the sunglasses. Once a Marine, always a Marine. The robber's hand started shaking. When did you serve? Vietnam, 1968 to 1970, then reserves until 85. The robber took a step back. His voice cracked. My father was a Marine. The old man's expression softened. Was? He didn't come home. Iraq, 2006. The bank was silent now. Even Susan had stopped moving. Everyone was watching this strange, impossible exchange. A bank robbery, interrupted by a tattoo. The old man spoke quietly. What was his name, son? The robber's voice was barely above a whisper. Sergeant Michael Torres, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, killed in Ramadi, October 18th, 2006. The old man's face went pale. He lowered his hands slowly. Michael Torres, Mike, big guy, loved to talk about his kid, showed me pictures. The robber's gun dropped completely, hanging at his side. You knew him? I was with the Marine security force guarding the embassy in Baghdad. Mike's unit rotated through for a month in 06. We worked together. He talked about you constantly, said you were going to play college baseball, said you had a full ride. The robber pulled down the bandana. His face was young, maybe 25, tears streaming down his cheeks. That was before he died. Everything fell apart after. The old man nodded. What's your name? Danny Torres. Danny, I'm Robert Hayes. Your father saved my life. Twice. Danny's legs buckled. He sat down hard on the floor. The gun clattered beside him. What? Robert stayed on his knees but moved closer, slowly, unthreatening. First time was during a mortar attack. Shrapnel hit near me. He pulled me into cover. Second time, we got ambushed on a convoy. He returned fire while I dragged a wounded Marine out of the kill zone. Your father was the bravest man I ever served with. Danny was sobbing now, full body shaking sobs. Then why did he leave me? Why did he go back for that third deployment? Robert's voice was gentle. Because that's what Marines do. We go where we're needed. And he went because he believed in protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. He went so you wouldn't have to. Danny looked at the gun on the floor, then at the terrified people around the bank, then at Robert. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm robbing a bank. I'm a piece of shit. You're not. You're hurting. You're lost. But you're not a piece of shit. My dad would be ashamed. Robert shook his head. Your dad would be heartbroken, but not ashamed. Because you can still turn this around. Right now, this moment, you haven't hurt anyone. You can stop. Danny's voice was broken. I needed the money. My mom's sick. Cancer. No insurance. I couldn't. I didn't know what else to do. Robert looked at Susan. What's in those drawers? 10,000? 15? Susan nodded. About 12. Robert looked back at Danny. That won't save her. That'll pay for maybe one round of chemo. And then you'll be in prison. And she'll be alone. Is that what Mike would want? Danny covered his face with his hands. I don't know what to do. Robert extended his hand. You do the right thing. You put the gun down. You walk out of here with me. And we figure this out together. The Marine way. Danny looked at the hand, then at Robert's tattoo, the eagle, globe, anchor. The same symbol his father had worn on his uniform. The same values, honor, courage, commitment. Slowly, Danny reached out, took Robert's hand. Robert pulled him to his feet. Then, in full view of everyone in the bank, did something no one expected. He pulled Danny into a hug, held him while he cried. It's okay, son. I've got you. Your dad would want me to have you. Susan was on the phone. She'd called 911 during the standoff. Police were already outside. Sheriff Mike Patterson was at the door, weapon drawn, looking through the glass. Robert looked at him, made eye contact, and slowly, carefully, picked up the gun from the floor, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, set it on the counter. Then he raised his hands. Danny did the same. The door burst open. 3 deputies rushed in, weapons up. On the ground, both of you. Robert and Danny complied, laid flat, hands behind their heads. Within seconds, they were in cuffs. Danny was pulled to his feet, read his rights. Robert was helped up more gently. Sheriff Patterson looked at Robert. Bob, what the hell just happened? Robert nodded toward Danny. This young man's father was a Marine, Sergeant Michael Torres, killed in action, Ramadi, 2006. Danny here lost his way, but he didn't hurt anyone, and he surrendered peacefully. Patterson looked at Danny, then at the bank, at the terrified but unharmed customers, at the money still in the drawers. He turned to his deputies. Take him to the station, but no rough stuff. He cooperated. As Danny was led out, he looked back at Robert. Thank you. Robert nodded. Semper Fi, Danny. Your fight's not over. 2 hours later, Robert was at the sheriff's office. Giving his statement, Patterson sat across from him, shaking his head. Bob, you just talked down an armed robber with a tattoo and a story. Robert shrugged. I saw a kid who needed help, same as any other Marine in trouble. He's being charged. Armed robbery. That's serious. I know. But Mike, that kid's not a criminal. He's desperate. His mom's dying. He made a bad choice, but he didn't follow through. He stopped. That should count for something. Patterson leaned back. You planning to speak at his hearing? If they'll let me. They will. Judge Thompson owes you. You pulled his son out of a car wreck 3 years ago. Robert smiled faintly. Then, I guess, I'll be there. The preliminary hearing was 2 weeks later. Danny stood before Judge Sarah Thompson, public defender at his side. The charges were read: armed robbery, attempted theft, possible 10-year sentence. The prosecutor made his case. Your Honor, the defendant entered a bank with a loaded weapon, fired a shot, threatened innocent people. The intent was clear. Judge Thompson looked at Danny. How do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor. Danny's voice was steady, resigned. The judge nodded. Before I render sentencing, are there any witnesses who wish to speak? Robert stood from the gallery. I do, Your Honor. The judge's face softened. Mr. Hayes, please approach. Robert walked to the stand, was sworn in, sat down. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Hayes, you were in the bank that day. You spoke with the defendant. Tell me what you saw. Robert looked at Danny, then at the judge. I saw a young man who lost his father, a Marine who died serving his country. I saw a kid who watched his family fall apart, who watched his mother get sick, who felt helpless, and in the moment of desperation, made a terrible choice. He paused. But I also saw something else. I saw him stop. I saw him listen. I saw him choose honor over desperation, his father's honor, and I saw him surrender without hurting a single person. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, intent doesn't erase the crime. Robert turned to him. No, but recognizing a young man's capacity for redemption should influence the consequences. Danny Torres isn't a career criminal. He's a casualty of war. His father died for this country, and his family was left to struggle. If we can't show mercy to the children of our fallen heroes, what kind of country are we? The courtroom was silent. Judge Thompson looked at Danny. Mr. Torres, do you have anything to say? Danny stood. Your Honor, what I did was wrong, unforgivable. I endangered innocent people, and I dishonored my father's memory. I don't deserve leniency, but if you give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. The judge was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. Mr. Torres, I'm sentencing you to 5 years supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. You also establish a payment plan to reimburse the bank for any expenses incurred that day. The prosecutor started to object. The judge raised a hand. Additionally, I'm requiring you to work with Mr. Robert Hayes on a veteran outreach program. You will share your story. You will help other children of fallen service members. And you will honor your father by becoming the man he believed you could be. Violate any term of this sentence and you'll serve the full 10 years. Do you understand? Danny's voice cracked. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. 6 months later, Danny stood in front of a high school auditorium. 300 students, teenagers, some bored, some distracted. But when he started talking, they listened. My name is Danny Torres, and 6 months ago, I walked into a bank with a gun. I was ready to destroy my life, but an old Marine with a tattoo stopped me. He told them about his father, about losing him, about the pain, the anger, the desperation, and about Robert Hayes, about second chances, about honor. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. I'm asking you to learn from me. When life gets hard, when everything feels hopeless, don't do what I did. Reach out. Ask for help. Because somewhere, there's someone like Mr. Hayes. Someone who'll see you, who'll help you, who'll remind you that you're worth saving. When he finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. And in the back row, Robert Hayes stood, saluted, and smiled. Because Marines don't abandon their brothers, even the sons of brothers, even when they make mistakes. They just remind them what their fathers believed in, and give them a chance to live up to it. After the presentation, a teenage girl approached Danny. She couldn't have been more than 16. Her eyes were red. Mr. Torres, my brother died in Afghanistan 2 years ago, Army, and my mom, she's not the same. I don't know how to help her. Danny knelt down to her level. What's your name? Jessica. Jessica, losing someone in service is different than any other loss. It's not just grief. It's pride mixed with anger, mixed with emptiness. Your mom's not broken. She's carrying a weight that never gets lighter. She just learns to carry it better. How? By knowing her son's sacrifice mattered. By seeing that people still care. Do you have a picture of him? Jessica pulled out her phone, showed him a photo. A young soldier in uniform, smiling, maybe 19. Then his throat tightened. He looks like a good man. What was his name? Corporal James Peterson. Jessica, your brother was a hero, and the best way you can help your mom is by reminding her of that. Every day, tell her stories, share memories, and when she's ready, connect her with other Gold Star families. There are people who understand. People like Mr. Hayes who can help. Jessica hugged him, held on tight, and Danny realized something. This helping people who lost what he lost, this was his purpose. This was how he honored his father. Robert approached after Jessica left. You did good, Danny. I just told her what I wish someone had told me. That's exactly what makes you good at this. Over the next year, Danny spoke at 20 schools. He worked with veteran organizations. He volunteered at VA hospitals. And every single appearance, Robert was there, watching, supporting, guiding. But something else happened too. Danny started a GoFundMe for his mother's medical expenses. He titled it simply, Help a Gold Star Mother. He shared his story, the bank robbery, the Marine who stopped him, the second chance. It went viral. Within a week, they raised $50,000. Within a month, $175,000. People from across the country donated. Veterans, active duty, civilians. All of them moved by a son trying to save his mother. Danny's mom, Michael Torres, underwent treatment at one of the best cancer centers in the region. Her prognosis improved, and for the first time since Michael had died, she smiled again. Really smiled. Mijo, she said one afternoon as Danny sat with her during chemo. Your father will be so proud of you. Danny's eyes filled. I almost threw it all away, Mom. But you didn't, because you have his heart, his honor. And that Marine, Mr. Hayes, he saw that. He saw your father in you. 2 years after the bank incident, Danny enrolled in community college, criminal justice. He wanted to work with at-risk youth, kids who'd lost parents to war, kids who were angry and lost like he'd been. Robert helped him study. They met twice a week at a coffee shop, reviewed coursework, talked about life. And slowly, Robert became the father figure Danny had lost. One evening, as they closed their books, Danny asked, Robert, why did you help me? You didn't know me. I pointed a gun at you. Robert was quiet for a moment. Then he rolled up his sleeve, showed the tattoo. This symbol means something. It means we don't leave our brothers behind. And when your father died, he left a son behind. A son who needed someone. I helped you because Mike would have done the same for mine. Did you have kids? Robert's face shadowed. Had a son, Brian. Lost him to suicide in 2015. He was Army, 2 deployments. Came home different. I tried to help, but I couldn't reach him. Danny's chest tightened. Robert, I'm sorry. Me too, every day. But you know what keeps me going? Helping kids like you. Making sure Mike's son didn't end up like mine. Making sure other families don't lose their sons. Danny reached across the table, put his hand on Robert's. You saved me, you know that, right? Robert nodded. And you saved me too. Gave me purpose again. 3 years after the robbery, Danny graduated with honors. The local newspaper ran a story. From bank robber to graduate. A Marine son finds redemption. At the graduation ceremony, Danny walked across the stage to receive his degree. The applause was loud, but when he reached the center, he stopped, looked into the audience, found Robert, and rendered a sharp salute. Robert, sitting in the third row with tears streaming down his face, stood, returned the salute. And in that moment, everyone in the auditorium understood. This wasn't just a graduation. This was a promise kept, a legacy honored, a Marine taking care of another Marine's son. Danny got a job with the Montana Department of Corrections, Youth Outreach Coordinator. He worked with kids in juvenile detention, told them his story, showed them his father's picture, and gave them the same chance Robert had given him, a second chance to honor the people who believed in them. Michael Torres went into remission. She attended every one of Danny's speaking events, sat in the front row, and every time he mentioned his father, she smiled through tears, because her son had become the man Michael always knew he could be. On the 5th anniversary of the bank robbery, Danny and Robert returned to the First National Bank of Cedar Springs. Susan Hartley, the manager, had organized a small ceremony. She'd invited the people who'd been there that day, the tellers, the customers, the sheriff. Danny stood in the exact spot where he stood with a gun, where he'd seen Robert's tattoo, where everything had changed. 5 years ago, I walked through that door, ready to destroy my life. I was desperate, angry, lost. But the 76-year-old Marine with a tattoo reminded me who my father was and who I could be. He looked at Robert. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for seeing past the gun. Thank you for honoring my father by saving his son. Robert stood, walked to Danny, and without a word, rolled up his sleeve, showed the tattoo, the eagle, globe, anchor. Danny rolled up his own sleeve. There, freshly inked, was an identical tattoo, and beneath it, for Mike, for Robert, Semper Fi. The room erupted, not in applause, in tears, in understanding, because they'd all witnessed something rare, redemption, grace, and the unbreakable bond between Marines that transcends generations, mistakes, and even death itself. Because some tattoos don't just mark skin, they mark souls, they mark promises, and they remind us that no matter how far we fall, there's always someone willing to reach down and pull us back up. As long as we're willing to grab the hand, Semper Fidelis, always faithful, not just to the core, but to each other, forever.